Good morning. Today is Friday, April 1st, 2021. So this week's Torah portion, the Parsha of Tazria, gives us the procedure when a person learns that they have this condition called Tzora'at. It is mistranslated as leprosy, but really it is a physical manifestation of a spiritual shortcoming. And the Torah says, Kol yemei asher hanega bo, for as long as this discoloration appears, Bidud yeshev michutz l'machane moshovo. The person has to leave their camp, leave their city, and they have to live Bidud. Bidud means alone. The word Bidud is the modern Israeli word that is being used today to mean quarantine. The word Bidud means to be alone. But that word Bidud, leaving aside the way it's used in Israel today, the word Bidud, leaving that aside, the word Bidud, as it's used in the Torah, has a very interesting set of meanings. For example, it is used as a compliment. Bilam, when, though he is trying to curse the Jewish people, actually ends up blessing the Jewish people, says, Hein am lebadad yishkon. They are a nation that dwells apart, alone, in a positive sense. The Torah says about God himself, Hashem badad yanchenu. God himself alone led us through the desert. And about the entire Jewish people, Vayishkon Yisrael betach badad. And the Jewish people dwelled secure, alone. So badad is not a punishment. It is an opportunity to be alone, to contemplate. In the case of our Parsha, a person who has spoken Lashon Hara, negative speech about someone else, and therefore has this condition which requires them to be apart, to be alone for a while, it's an opportunity for that person to be able to reflect on the harm that they may have caused, the disharmony, maybe the argument that they started as a result of the words that they shared. And that time alone is a time to be able to think about the consequences of my words and to appreciate their significance. And, as the Torah describes, it may last for a period of 7 days, and after 7 days, the Kohen comes to visit and to see, has this person made constructive use of this time that they were alone, and that now they're able to come back and rejoin the community. I've shared before this amazing quote of Rabbi Eliyahu Dessler. A person may come to know themselves in 3 ways: when they are giving as opposed to taking, when they are striving to achieve beyond what is their grasp, and in their aloneness. Though we do not have Tzora'at today, the subject of our Parsha does not have a clear, practical application in our lives because this whole system, this phenomenon, does not exist and has not existed for 2,000 years. But there is a curious feature in this week's Parsha that has a great and frequent relevance for every single one of us. Because, as I've mentioned, this condition, Tzora'at, is a spiritual ailment, not a medical ailment. A person goes to the Kohen, and the Kohen may say to the person, you have to be alone for 7 days. Why 7? There's an amazing answer that's given by one of the great Hasidic masters, the Slonimer Rebbe, in his work Netivot Shalom. And he writes, the reason this person has to be Bidud, by themselves, alone for 7 days, is so that this period will necessarily include Shabbos. Because Shabbos is the time for hisbonenus, introspection, reflection. Shabbos is a time of deep calm. It's a time when things hopefully are not hectic or chaotic or busy. It's a time to be able to focus on what we don't have time for the other 6 days of the week. And therefore, this person needs 7 days to ensure that there is at least one Shabbos. It's not supposed to be something that is painful or upsetting or punitive. It's supposed to be a period that is introspective, that is deliberative, that allows a person to recalibrate. And that is what Shabbos is. That is what Shabbos is supposed to mean for every one of us every week. We are to experience Shabbos in this manner. And even if we don't have Tzora'at, this detail of requiring 7 days in order to include a Shabbos is so important to what we are supposed to accomplish on Shabbos. To think, to reflect on last week, to plan for next week, to allow the alone time of Shabbos to be constructive. Now, of course, we have had many times in the last 2 years where this aloneness was forced on us to preserve our health and the health of others. And hopefully things are getting better, but we're not finished with COVID quite yet. There are still people in our community getting sick. There are still people that we know going into Bidud, into quarantine. And for many, it can be devastating. It has been and still may be terrible. But I have heard from quite a number of people, to me it's a surprisingly large number of people, who have said to me, these last 2 years have been the best years of my life. I was alone, together only with my thoughts. I was able to reflect on my life. I was able to reflect on the direction of my life, to reflect on my priorities in life, and to make changes. And without Bidud, these people have told me, without being alone, it wouldn't have happened. Now, I still don't wish it on anyone. But let's at least apply it to Shabbos. Now, increasingly, we need not be physically alone, and hopefully that will continue and improve. But the lesson we should take from this Parsha is to recognize that Shabbos is a time not just for sleep, but for reflection, for reevaluation, for re-examination of the direction of my life and re-examination of my priorities in life. And what changes do I need to make when Shabbos ends? It's not a punishment. It's an opportunity. And our Torah portion this week, which describes a phenomenon we have never seen and we have never experienced, and we have great difficulty even imagining it. But ironically, it is this Torah portion that teaches us a lesson that is so practically relevant to us right now. It teaches us how we can best use Shabbos for renewal and for refreshing our lives. Because that's why Shabbos comes every seventh day. My friends, I want to wish you a great day and a beautiful Shabbos, filled with deep rest and reflection. And I look forward to seeing all of you soon in person.